The amount of gosh darn videos we made about these two guys over the years, it'll always be a really great time in my life. Not necessarily because anything amazing was going on in my life at this time, but because it was like, hey, it's vibes, man. It was hype. The Montreal Canadiens in 2022 had themselves the first overall pick. And with it, obviously, they selected Juraj Slafkovsky, number 1. This also was a very hyped up player who really grew his stock during the Olympic Games and various international tournaments in his draft-eligible season. This guy was literally the best U18 Olympics player, something like that, with the goal production that he had. So, yeah, the NHL's going back to the Olympics, that's fine. Juraj already has himself a bronze medal at the Olympics as a draft-eligible guy. Like, how many NHL players can say that on their resume? It was the perfect time because NHL players were not in the gosh darn thing, and Slafkovsky was on a pretty strong Slovakia team, and he got the medal. I mean, the guy was an Olympic medalist before he turned 18. How crazy is that, man? Now, we know a lot of other NHL guys will become Olympic medalists later on in 2026, but for now, Slafkovsky, he's in a pretty exclusive group. But anyways, going back over to the past here, all Slafkovsky medal talk aside, this was a really big argument back in 2022. Whether or not Slafkovsky or Wright would go first overall. And there was sentiment saying that Shane Wright, the projected first overall pick, could be dethroned. I say projected first overall pick because he absolutely was the projected first overall pick. You know how many outlets had him not at number 1? 2. Bob McKenzie had him at number 2, and then Corey Pronman also ranked Wright a lot lower as well. So there was some doubt. It wasn't unanimous, but it was very gosh darn well projected that Wright would be number 1. The reason we are making this video today is because it's been 3 years since the gosh darn 2022 draft, 3 years since the Canadiens picked first overall, and now these two guys are in very different stages of their careers. Let's compare them, let's contrast them, let's dive into the Shane Wright versus Juraj Slafkovsky debate of 2025. Let's dive into the Elite Prospects comparison tool over here. So, side by side, Slafkovsky versus Wright. They're both 21 years old. Wright is a center. Slaf is a winger. Slaf is 6'3", 238, left-handed guy. Wright is 6 feet, 198, right-handed guy. The contract, obviously, you can say that Wright has a better contract because he's only making $800,000. He'll make this amount of money till 26-27. His ELC has been extended a little bit longer. Slafkovsky, on the other hand, is making $7.6 million a year till the end of 2033. The guy signed on for the long haul. He's alongside of Suzuki and Caulfield for the long haul. They all have contracts. Let's hope that Lane Hutson is next. But if you go over to draft-eligible production, this is where things were really interesting. Because at age 17, both of these guys' draft-eligible seasons, you could see that Juraj Slafkovsky didn't really have the best league play production. He had 10 points in 31 TPS Turku games in the Liga, which is not bad. It's just, you know, you kind of hope to see your first overall guy get a little bit more points than that. What really boosted up Slafkovsky's stock towards the draft itself, though, was his performance at the U18s for Team Slovakia. He had 11 points in 6 games. His performance for Team Slovakia at the Olympics, he had 7 goals in 7 games. And then his TPS Turku playoff run, where he had 7 points in 18 games. Folks saw the big, commanding style that Slafkovsky played, they saw the goal scoring, they saw the production, and they said, wow, that guy looks like Mikko Rantanen. And for Shane Wright, it's not that he didn't have a good season in his draft-eligible year. He had 94 points in 63 games, 14 points in 11 games as well. There were just some questions as to whether or not Wright's foot speed would fully translate, if he could develop that and allow himself to get up to NHL pace, if his production wasn't really as impressive as it should have been for a guy that I think folks were at some point talking about as a franchise player. We all recognize that Wright was supposed to be first, but the fact that he went fourth instead to Seattle was maybe the biggest shock that we saw on that draft day. New Jersey passed on Wright because they already had Hischier and Hughes, and then Arizona passed on Wright because they did all their scouting on Logan Cooley and they liked him more. Quite frankly, you could say that Logan Cooley is potentially even better than both of these guys. But scrolling down into the next little while here, Slafkovsky played in the NHL pretty much since he got drafted. He didn't spend any time in the AHL. Shane Wright did. He was going up and down and up and down. But at age 19, at the end of 23-24, we didn't have enough ammo to fully fight for Shane Wright at this time. Slafkovsky had a 50-point year, 20 goals, 82 games played. He looked much better in the second half for Montreal's season, which is awesome, but Shane Wright was doing some pretty good things in the AHL. We just couldn't do the one-to-one comparison. This year, however, things are very, very close. Because Juraj Slafkovsky, in 79 NHL games played, scored 18 goals and 33 assists for 51 points. Shane Wright, in 79 NHL games played, had 19 goals, 25 assists for 44 points. Shane Wright did outscore Slafkovsky in terms of goals in the same amount of NHL games. Slafkovsky just had 8 more assists, which is why the points are laid out in this way. I'm kind of sitting there and wondering, okay, you have these two guys now at 21 years old, heading into 2025-2026. Shane Wright is going to be playing presumably behind Matty Beniers, behind maybe Jared McCann if they want to play him at center, although that's not really the likely scenario, I would say. Meanwhile, Slafkovsky is going to be a first-line winger for the Montreal Canadiens. We already know this. So I kind of question, just how intricate is this Wright and Slafkovsky battle going to be in 25-26? Both of these guys can be productive. Both of these guys can get opportunities. Slav is going to be first-line right wing. Probably first-line power play. I mean, if you assume that Patty Laine is going to go down to the second unit because he prefers receiving passes from right-handed dudes on the point instead of left-handed dudes. And then if you go over to Seattle, I mean, Shane Wright, if he's not already up there, yeah, okay, he's listed as third-line center. That's kind of... I don't know if he's going to stick around there, man. Chandler Stevenson, I guess he's good, but Shane Wright, he has all the more to gain with this upcoming campaign. He looked so good, so effective. There were some really hot streaks that Shane Wright went on in that 2025 season that he just concluded here. I mean, the guy just knows where to put himself on the power play. He knows how to find positioning. I'm saying that because I put this guy on my hockey team for a good chunk of the year in fantasy hockey. I mean, just look at all of these points over here. He's getting multi-point games. He's going on point streaks. He's getting multi-goal games. Shane Wright was pretty gosh darn legit. And this is only the beginning, because that season that he just had, 44 points in 79 games, that was his rookie year. That was his first full year in the National Hockey League as a full-time player. And now I'm just wondering if he's had enough experience in the NHL and the AHL to avoid a sophomore slump of some kind. I mean, Eeli Tolvanen is also pretty good, not to mention Mason Marchment. This third line actually might be pretty effective here. But the story continues between Juraj Slafkovsky and Shane Wright, and ultimately, I'm saying here that with Wright's explosion of offense this most recent year, I think the debate might be closer than ever, especially if Wright continues developing as a pure center. So with all this in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. 3 years after the fact, how do you feel about Shane Wright versus Juraj Slafkovsky, and where do you think this argument will go in the upcoming years? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.